Hello again, I am Blunty, and in these two inconspicuous boxes are a couple of wristwatches. Yay! Now, to be honest, wristwatches are pretty low on the list of things I thought I'd spend time making a video about. I mean, how does one review a watch and make it interesting? I mean, I'm very clever and all, and I'm sure I'd find a way to do it, but with the contents of these watch boxes, I don't have to try, for these watches are from Tokyoflash. And any geek worth his Think Geek t-shirts knows that Tokyoflash don't do ordinary. They don't do formulaic. They don't do predictable, and they certainly don't do boring. So when the Tokyoflash people emailed me and asked me if I wanted to take a look hands-on with a couple of their unusual timepieces, I said yes in nanoseconds. Box 1 contains what Tokyoflash call the Kasei 7 LED watch, but clearly you and I can call it what it should be called if Tokyoflash wanted to throw a ridiculously large stack of cash at Disney so they could license the name. It's a TRON watch. Look at it! It's a friggin' TRON watch! This is, without a doubt, the coolest nerd watch design I've ever seen. It's utterly beautiful, and it's a friggin' TRON watch! Come on! Now, Tokyoflash pride themselves on constantly reinventing and playing with how time readout on a watch is displayed. They've got all kinds of variations, some incredibly pretty, some deliberately esoteric, some wildly fun, and some simply so deeply nerdy you have to literally read time in binary code to be able to tell people what time it is. But, unlike many of Tokyoflash's other watch designs, the TRON watch is actually fairly traditional in its readout. Those two rings of light each have a dark spot which you read just like the hands of a traditional analog clock face. One for hours and one for minutes in 10-minute intervals, and the two accent light strips on the edge of the watch band count off the minutes one by one. I know it sounds a bit awkward, but they have a diagram on their website which makes it pretty damn clear. The watch itself has a built-in rechargeable battery, and it comes with a USB cable for easy charging. A full charge takes about 3 hours, and it will last up to a month depending on how often you light up the watch face. If you're like me, it'll probably last much less than a month because you'll be lighting it up all the time because it's a friggin' TRON watch. You can also set it to light itself up at set time intervals, which will shorten your battery life obviously, but is a great conversation starter in dark places like clubs and bars and parties. Depressingly, on a personal level, I myself can't wear this watch very comfortably, and it's because of my girder-like wrists. See, the initial part of the band is rigid because there's the minute lights in there, and being rigid in a set curve means there's no way for it to flex around my particularly large wrists. I've actually tested this with a few of my friends, and I'm an edge case here, I really am. It fits most people just fine, just not me, which is kind of frustrating because it's a friggin' TRON watch. So one of my friends out there is about to be given an unbelievably cool watch. Lucky for me, one of them happens to be an insanely huge TRON fan. So I'm about to make his day. Moving on to another Tokyoflash nerd watch that not only does, in fact, fit me perfectly, but brings a more traditional Tokyoflash theme of weird features and somewhat enigmatic way of telling the time. This one is called the Kasei Rogue Touch, and as the name suggests, it eschews buttons for a touchscreen. As you can see, it's also much classier looking than the TRON watch. I mean, I love the TRON watch, but this is obviously much more slick. It's got an elegant metal band in what I think is unarguably a stunningly attractive polished gunmetal tone, and a very nice mineral crystal lens on the face. It's got an LCD LED combo screen, so the time is always displayed just like a regular digital watch, so you can just glance at it, but it can also light up in a bright glowing colour from your choice of 4 options. And it's a good choice for the traveller, or if you have friends or family living overseas, because it'll actually show you 2 time zones at a glance. Well, I say at a glance. What I mean is at a glance once you get used to reading it, because obviously it looks a lot more complicated than it really is, as with most Tokyoflash gear. It'll take a while for your brain to accept things, but once you are kind of trained to read what seems to be a gibberish of dots and dashes, it makes sense just fine. There's a ring for hours and a ring for minutes, and 3 partial sections for ticking off the seconds, and 2 more rings for the second time zone readout of hours and minutes. And it's actually got the normal wristwatch stuff too, like a date readout and an alarm. And those touchscreen controls work nicely too. It's all pretty simple. There are zones for different functions marked by 4 different icons, and you press and hold or tap or swirl or swipe from one to the other to get things done. In this day and age of smartphones, it's actually surprisingly intuitive. And of course, there's a lock function to stop you accidentally changing your time zone to Vladivostok or setting your alarm to 3:34 a.m. And this one is actually one of Tokyoflash's limited editions, so if you're after one or want one for a gift, I'd suggest sooner rather than later. And Tokyoflash has kindly provided a discount code for you, the loyal and attractive viewers of me, Blunty3000. The code is B3000. Makes sense, right? And it'll get you $10 off any purchase. And seeing as some watches start at under $90, that's a pretty neat discount. And it's valid for 2 weeks after this video goes live. Now, the build quality on both samples Tokyoflash sent in was great. It's clear they pride themselves on not only beautiful design, but a high quality product, so I've got no worries at all about recommending them. It's also probably worth noting that the watch displays actually look much better to the eye than they do on camera. So if you're after a nerdy watch cunningly disguised as a bit of designer fashion, or with the gift-giving holiday season racing up upon us, if you know someone, much like me, who'd spaz out with nerdy glee at such a unique, unusual, but still practical gift, then I'd suggest you go have a poke around the Tokyoflash website. There's all kinds of neat watches. They even have a pocket watch version of the Rogue Touch, which is just all kinds of future retro nerdy cool and only slightly ridiculous, but in that kind of fun way. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.